Pragyan Ojha joins us live on the program. Pragyan, firstly, your thoughts. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is that you saw India go in with 5 bowlers in the Pakistan game. It was a strategy that did not work out. What would have prompted them to have done the same thing in this game?
I think India went with 5 bowlers and they had Deepak Hooda along with it. So the plan was quite clear. But I think if you look at the batting and bowling, I don't think we synced well. At a crucial juncture, we lost wickets. Whenever India needed a partnership, that's when we lost important wickets, and we could not build on it. And if you look at bowling, if you don't pick early wickets, then I told you the momentum was with Sri Lanka. They have won big games. They were doing really well with the bat and the ball, and that's the reason they were confident. And if you miss that trick of picking early wickets and give them that chance when they had that partnership of 90 odd runs, so that is when I think they slightly moved ahead of us, and then the rest was taken care easily. And I would say Ashwin and Chahal managed to get us back into the game, but end of the day, I think our faster bowlers did not deliver, and that is something which is going to be a concern.
Pragyan, I mean, one is not delivering on the front. I mean, we were building up to this tournament. This was being looked at this very important tournament ahead of the T20 World Cup. Many thought that you'd get an indication of how the Indian team performs here, and that will give you an indication of how going forward it will perform at the T20 World Cup. At the moment, the signs aren't great. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. I think there are a lot of queries that Indian team needs to address, because we could see the top order is not syncing. One guy is performing, the other two guys are not. That once that syncs, I think a lot of things will take care of itself. And when you talk about our bowling, every time any champion team, why do they win consistently? Because they pick early wickets and their spinners in the middle give you those 2 or 3 wickets. That's when you don't let the opposition dominate you. But now, if you see with our batting, we could not do anything. Rohit played well, but then the other two batsmen could not perform. Previous game, I think they had a good start, but it was not kind of a sync. So once the sync happens, that's when teams perform consistently. So I think that sync is missing. It's like individual, as they say, individuals can win you games, but not championship. So that is something which I think this Indian team needs to look into, because as a team, we are not syncing well. That's how it looks.
Okay, Sunny Gavaskar now joins us live. Sunny bhai, Pragyan points out that yes, there are a few individual brilliant performances that we see all this while, but the team is not syncing together. Why do you think that is? Because, leading up to this tournament, we've been talking about last 6-8 months that we're trying different combinations. We've heard from the team management as well, saying that, listen, we are building up to that all-important Asia Cup and the T20 World Cup. If you've been trying a lot of things all this while, all experiments have been happening, all people playing at different position, figuring out who fits in which hole, then why is the sync still not happening?
I can't hear you. Didn't hear the question.
Sunny bhai, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'll have to come right close. Yeah.
Okay, Saiba, as Pragyan was pointing out, that one thing that is missing in the Indian team right now is that there is no sync. So you will get good individual performances once in a while, but the team is not gelling together. There's no sync. My question to you is, we've been building up to this Asia Cup. The last few months, we've all been talking about how the Indian team will, plan the Asia Cup, how they're going to be playing the T20 World Cup. So all combinations had been tried. You were working with a certain pool of players. Why is that sync still not come about?
It hasn't come about because you haven't had the same team playing. You get into a sync when the same team is playing. You try to experiment, which is fine, which is nothing wrong with that, because there are always 3 or 4 places up for grabs in a team, and in the process of trying to identify those players, you had different teams going, And with what that did was obviously, those players have now when other players come back into the team, the sync will take a longer time. So I would have thought that prior to this, the tour of Zimbabwe was the one where the team that is going to play the Asia Cup, the team that is going to be playing, or the majority of the players who are going to be playing in the World Cup should have been selected. But now you've got suddenly 4 or 5 guys coming in. The guys who had done well in Zimbabwe, etc., are not in the team, not even in the squad, not even in the 14, 15. And so obviously the sync is going to take some time to come.
Okay, Sanibai says that sync will come. It might take some time, but the Indian team doesn't have a lot of time because the T20 World Cup is around the corner. Just looking at this particular encounter, Sanibai, Pragyan spoke about it, India's bowling. Let me get your thoughts. We saw that, 5-bowler strategy that India employed when they were playing Pakistan clearly didn't work out. Were you surprised then that they've gone with that same strategy which didn't work in the last match and again has proved to be the Achilles heel? Because some would say in a pressure game, 170 odd may have been enough to defend, but you didn't have a bowling option to fall back on. If one of your 5 bowlers didn't have a great day, as Hardik Pandya didn't have today, as Arshdeep didn't have today, then you're in trouble if you don't have the 6th option. Sanibai, can you hear me?
I didn't catch a word of what. It was all crackle and static.
Okay, Sanibai, I'm saying that strategy of 5 bowlers that India went in the game before this versus Pakistan didn't quite pay the dividends. Were you then surprised that they went with the same thing and once again it's proven to be the Achilles heel because you didn't have a bowler to fall back on the day that Hardik Pandya didn't have a good day, the day Arshdeep didn't have a good day?
Some crackle. I can hear part of your voice.
Right. Sanibai, can you hear me now? Okay, I think there is some sort of an audio connection. My audio isn't going through to Sunny Gavaskar. I'll come to Pragyan as well. Pragyan, Sunnybai says that, in time all the combinations will come together. Maybe it'll take some time for that sync to happen. But I remember Rahul Dravid speaking ahead of this Asia Cup. So the Indian team didn't come to this Asia Cup to just get their combinations right. They came here to win this Asia Cup. With that in mind, with the performance in mind, it's clearly a reason to be disappointed for the entire team.
Yes, absolutely. Because when this tournament started, Indians were one of the favorites, and right now I think it looks very steep for the Indian team to qualify for the finals because they've lost the 2 games, and now it all depends on the calculation. So once the game goes away from you and you are depending on the mathematical calculations, that's when you know your chances are very, very little. So yes, Indian team will be disappointed because they were the favorites, and with these kind of losses, with so many questions to be answered, so I think there's a lot to think about.
What is going to worry you as an admirer of Indian cricket, as a supporter of Indian cricket, Pragyan, at the moment? This KL Rahul's form, is that worrying you? Is the form of some of our bowlers worrying you? Is the fact that suddenly that cupboard that you said of fast bowling was very, very strong? We had an overflow of fast bowlers. Suddenly it's looking empty. What are the areas that worry you right now going ahead and looking ahead to the T20 World Cup?
I think I strongly believe that if you have to win championships, you need good bowling attack. And every team that wins consistently, they have a strong bowling attack. If you go into the past and see,
Yeah.
every team which has a good solid bowling attack, they do that. So I think once Bumrah is back, I think I believe this is my personal belief that Shami should be around because Bumrah and Shami will be very lethal. You can build a bowling unit around
Yeah.
them because these 2 guys can do wonders, especially against good batting attack and on flat wickets which don't offer you too much. And this is what you're going to face in the near future in Australia.
So a few things for the Indian team to ponder over. Just one more thought, Pragyan, because I heard a lot of fans talk about it. Do you think the toss once again was crucial and India were unlucky then to have lost two tosses in a row and on both occasions bat first, which may not have been the ideal condition? That made a huge difference for the two losses?
See, I think toss, yes, it played a part, but if Indian they would have bowled to their potential, I was very sure that that Pakistan game and the Sri Lankan game we could have won. You know, it was well under our control. It is not that it was not in our control. It was one-sided game because of the toss. You have to look at, you know, toss is a factor that is done and dusted. That you can just leave it there once it is done. But when you reflect back, you have to see, have you done your job 100%? Have you really delivered what was expected out of you? So that is something which we need to address, because that is realistic. Toss is never in your control. Yes, that is something which gives you a little bit of advantage, but champion teams, they don't depend on toss or the condition. They think of winning the game on their skills.
Few Indian fans as well. Let's hear from them. What do you think went wrong?
Honestly, the bowling line wasn't. I mean, we have good bowlers, but we are not sure about our top 11. Always like, it was a mess. Like, we lost with Pakistan, and we were thinking that India will come back stronger. Everyone had lots of hopes with them, but then again with Sri Lanka, it was a disaster. And Sri Lanka played good, but you know, India, the standard is different, but still, they couldn't match the standards this time. So
What do you
very
think?
upset.
Upset, I can understand as Indian fans. What about you?
आई एम रियली डिसअपॉइंटेड बिकॉज जो हो सकता था कि बैटिंग हम लोग ने सोचा 180 या 190 के अबव होना चाहिए क्योंकि दैट्स द स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑफ इंडियन क्रिकेट टीम राइट
You were in a position to reach that at one point, the way Rohit was.
Yes, definitely. We could achieve that. But when we did achieve something, 150, you thought, okay, are we going to reach 160 or not? But somehow we did. But then, since the target was less, we could have done a better fielding, which we didn't. And because of which, it's really, really disappointing. Though we did give a good tight fight match, but last, it was really utter disobedience.
Are you worried as an Indian fan for the T20?
I'm not. Right. So I think the issue primarily was that we have underestimated the opposition. We've been maybe playing a few easier matches prior to the Asia Cup, so we thought that we can get away with a Sri Lanka match vis-a-vis what I think Sri Lanka has improved in the last 2-3 months. And I think the second issue is the middle overs. We need to figure out a better game plan from over 10 to 15 and 16, because I think we are a bit too slow. Both Pakistan and Sri Lanka maintained their pace despite losing wickets, and they knew how to chase the runs. And I think Asia Cup is a good warm-up for the T20 World Cup. We need to know how to set targets. I think last 2 matches that's where we missed out. But it's okay. We lose it.
Okay. That's a very pragmatic Indian fan. Not everyone is as pragmatic as this. But as an Indian fan, this was being looked at as a build-up to the T20 World Cup, right? Everyone has the eyes. Are you worried with looking at this form of the Indian team? What might happen?
Definitely, Indian team needs definitely you're worried. Indian team needs a lot of work now. They need to practice very well for the T20, because if this is the form, then we are surely going to lose the T20. If
Team changes, any changes, or you think this is the...
No, I feel there should be some changes, and my brother would like to say a few words
come
about
here.
the team. So.
Come here, you have to come behind, otherwise from there.
See, of course, there should be a lot of changes. First of all, we are unsure about our 15. आपके खुद के players are not sure about the games. आप ऋषभ पंत is not sure he is going to play, और दिनेश कार्तिक is not sure he is going to play. तो आप ये 15 को जब आप खिलाते हो तो आप तो श्योरिटी पहले दो जिनको रखना है. आपकी मोहम्मद शमी हैज़ बीन इन अ ब्रिलियंट फॉर्म, क्योंकि उसने T20 लास्ट ईयर वाज नॉट परफॉर्मिंग वेल, तो आपने उसको उस बेसिस पे ये टाइम में नहीं लिया. आई थिंक दैट इज़ नॉट अ गुड डिसीजन. जब ये आया, यू नीड एक्सपीरियंस्ड. आपके पास एक्सपीरियंस बॉलर्स नहीं एक भुवनेश्वर के अलावा. आई मीन द यंगस्टर्स डोंट, आवेश खान हो या अर्शदीप हो, दे आर न्यू प्लेयर्स, सो यू शुड गिव देम द टाइम एंड एवरीथिंग. बट क्योंकि हमारे पास वो एक्सपीरियंस इन एक्सपीरियंस, और आई थिंक कहीं ना कहीं हमने बहुत ग्रांटेड ले लिया आज की गेम. मुझे ऐसा लगा हमने हाफ हार्टेडली खेला, तो आई फेल्ट इट.
You felt it.
I strongly disagree, because I think it's good to have a competitive set of 20-30 players, and let there be rotation, let there be some healthy competition. There's nothing wrong in that. I think once Bumrah comes back and the bowling lineup strengthens a bit, I'm sure the team will do well. Trust me, if you remember, my son said it before, there's still chance we defeat Afghanistan handsomely.
I tell you, let me tell you what. There may be a chance. Firstly, you're not going to get an India-Pakistan because only one now can qualify. Even if that scenario had to happen, only one can qualify. If that scenario was to happen. But for that to happen, you have to rely on 3 other results to go your way, not just your own results.
See, luck hasn't gone our way for the last 2 matches. Maybe luck's on our side in the next few, right?
Okay.
Let's be positive. Let's be positive.
That's okay. I mean, positive. I mean, I hope we are negative. I mean, but yeah, that's another thing. But I feel that, I mean, we can't depend on luck all the time. We have not played well. We have to accept the fact and we have to go back to our dressing room and see where we have gone wrong. I feel Sri Lanka played much better today. You know, they deserved the win. They were, until 10 overs looked like they were going to, it was a cakewalk for them. Then we came back. But it wasn't enough. You know, a team like Sri Lanka, I feel we should have done much better.
Okay, I love talking to all you guys. Thank you so much for taking our time. Right, we're coming to you live from Dubai. We've just witnessed India's second loss in the Super Fours, lost to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka winning by 6 wickets, chasing that target of 174 down in the final over. What that means is that India are all but out of the Asia Cup race to reach the finals. Sunny Gavaskar, Pragyan Ojha with us. Sunny bhai, you couldn't hear me earlier. Let me try and ask you that question again. One thing that we noticed, and even you pointed out, the biggest folly that India made in that game versus Pakistan was to go in with 5 bowlers, and that got found out. The day one of them didn't have a good day, your bowling couldn't contain the Pakistani batting. Now, for a second game in a row, India employed that same strategy. Were you then surprised? Because that's a strategy that didn't pay dividends last time around. Why would you do it again?
Well, yes, I think the fact that India didn't have Stephanie, as they call it, a reserve bowler, certainly affected the chances, because when one bowler is going for runs, you got to pick horses for courses. So you should have picked according to the pitch, according to how the pitch has been behaving over here. Because look, while other teams have played in different venues, India has only played in Dubai. So India should now know what the Dubai pitch is doing, what happens for the team which has to defend the total in terms of the due factor, etc. So all that should have been taken into account, and for an extra bowler, a 6th bowler, there should have been a provision made. That didn't happen, and so you had this situation. But full marks to Sri Lanka for the way they batted. They were absolutely superb, no question about it.
Yeah. Outstanding batting by Sri Lanka. In fact, as I said, it's a hat-trick of wins. 3 games in a row. They've chased down a very stiff total. They did it once again. Saiba, you point out that maybe that the Indian team should have looked at the combination or how they were playing. Maybe there should have been provisions made depending on the conditions that are at play here in Dubai. What would you have liked to see? Had you had the same 15, what would you have done?
I think I would have picked Akshar Patel. Because look, if you're looking at somebody at number 7, to get you some 20-30 runs, that's not going to happen really, against a good bowling attack. And Sri Lanka has a good bowling attack. Throughout the World Cup, you will find that, you will get good bowling attack. So you missed Ravindra Jadeja big time. Akshar Patel could have done it considering the way he's batted, recently. So here was a man in form, and you should have given him an opportunity in this particular game. And that didn't quite happen. So there you are. I think India will be praying now that Sri Lanka go on to beat Pakistan. And then, Afghanistan also beat Pakistan. And then India beat Afghanistan, which will then mean one team has 3 wins and 3 teams have 1 win each. And therefore, there will be the net run rate that might come into play.
Well, that's right, Zaima. Mathematically, there's a chance, but that's hoping against hope, because you want various other results to go India's way. And not to forget, they'll also have another tough encounter versus Afghanistan. Plenty more to come with Pragyan Ojha and Sunny Gavaskar. But first, let's listen in to Rohit Sharma. This is what the Indian captain had to say after another loss here at the Asia Cup. All right, Rohit Sharma there saying that maybe the team should have got 10 odd runs more, but that wasn't to be. Had they got that, maybe they were in a position to win this game. Pragyan, to you, we understand that yes, you needed 10 more runs, but that 10 more runs haven't been coming because now 2 games in a row, your middle order has disappointed. When Suryakumar fires, yes, that middle order looks very good. When Hardik Pandya fires, yes, that middle order looks very good. But when these two don't get along or get a lot of runs, then maybe you do not get the kind of total that you want. In all of this scenario, were you then surprised that you had been grooming a specialist down the order to give you that 10-15 more runs in Dinesh Karthik? He played the first 2 games, didn't get a chance to bat, and then doesn't get a chance to play after that.
See, more than that, what we need to see is if you look at why Indian cricket was so dominant, because in the middle overs, the batsmen, they used to build an innings. They used to carry the team along. They used to, take those doubles, singles, and build an innings. Now you see, if they don't get those boundaries, you see those big shots. That's when, that is where I feel our batsmen need to think about, because you have to build a partnership, and the best way to build a partnership, as Sunny sir says, rotate the strike, try and build it. See, that is what is missing in this modern team. That is something which they need to learn. Why MS Dhoni was the best finisher in the world? Not only he could hit those boundaries and sixes, he used to rotate those strikes. If you do that, your scores, they slowly move forward. They are not halted, and you don't feel the pressure of going for those big shots. So that is something which these young guys need to understand, that it is not about sixes and boundaries. It's also about those doubles, singles. That is where you have to work on. I think that is building an innings, which they say. You can build the innings without putting a lot of pressure on yourself. That is something which is missing. That is where we are slightly behind.
Right. You are behind, Pragyan Ojha says. Certain areas where India is behind. That, Sunny Bhai, doesn't augur well, considering that you're just, 6-7 weeks away from a T20 World Cup. You didn't have a great T20 World Cup last time around, and the build-up this time, at the evidence of what we've seen in the Asia Cup, is not great. Are you, as a lover of Indian cricket, as a supporter of Indian cricket, worried?
Yes, I think there's a touch of worry. I'm not overly worried, because we've got now a few matches coming up at home. And, there I hope no experiments will take place. You will pick the squad that is going to go to Australia to play. Stop talking about, workload and all that. When you're playing for India, there is no workload. You've just got to, get your best team out in the park now for these next matches that are coming in India. Now with this exit from the Asia Cup, you get an extra 2 or 3 days of rest. So you take that rest and then start, getting together in Mohali for the game against Australia. And the same team that is going to go to Australia, that plus maybe 1 or 2 standbys, the standbys you have, that is the only team that should be playing now in these matches against South Africa and against Australia. And that will then give them a lot more time out in the middle. Look, we always keep talking about time out in the middle. We talk about, overs under the belt for the bowlers. We haven't had that. Also, don't forget, when you look at the chases, India hasn't taken wickets. Pakistan also lost 4 wickets, I think. And now, just now, we had 4 wickets down from Sri Lanka.
Yes.
So that is the problem. Bowlers are not taking wickets. So if you're not taking wickets, the opposition is getting those partnerships to overhaul 170, 180. They are getting those partnerships. So yes, when the Bumrahs and the Akshar Patels and the Shamis come back, India will have a sharper edge. So that's why I'm not worried. I'm not worried, because I know that when these players come back, these are top players. But we want them now to get more overs under their belt so they don't go. Look, our first match of the World Cup is against Pakistan. You don't want any of our players to go undercooked. I would rather that they go overcooked rather than undercooked. And that is what I do believe that we should be looking. Okay, Asia Cup, forget the Asia Cup at the moment. Focus now on these matches coming up.
All right, Sunny Bhai makes a very pertinent point there. He says no more of this, workload management or the rest that the Indian team keeps talking about, because now is the time to work really hard, because as I mentioned, that T20 World Cup is not too far away. Pragyan spoke about how the team doesn't seem to be in sync, and it cannot be in sync if the regular members of the strongest Indian team that they're going to field on the pitch is not going to be playing together. And this is something that we'd been talking about for the longest time. This was the first tournament. The full strength team is playing. Hopefully with series ahead, they will have that entire team playing, and then they could be better prepared for the much bigger tournament that is the T20 World Cup. If you're wondering why the crowds are so thin today, that's because for two reasons. This was in India-Pakistan. Secondly, as soon as the match got over, the fans rushed. They're not too keen to talk to the media. That happens because the fans have been left disappointed. What I can also report from here is that there will be no India-Pakistan final. That is confirmed. Even if India have that minute chance of making it to the final, they will have to hope that it's Sri Lanka and them, and then Pakistan go on to lose a few matches, or it will be Pakistan that plays Sri Lanka. There cannot be any India-Pakistan final. That's definite after this result. In fact, even India making it to the final is a very teeny-weeny bit of mathematical calculation. We'll leave you. That's all that we have the time for. Thanks, Sunny Bhai and Pragyan Ojha